What's going on, everybody? You know what time it is. It is time for Under Review. And I am KODX Fact, and I'm here as part of the Game That Lounge Media Network. So we're here this week, and we are looking at the brand new Ubisoft open world title in the Assassin's Creed franchise. And we are looking now at Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So, how the world of Assassin's Creed has been changing over the past decade. If you've been playing the series, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And we thought that with Origins was a perfect blend of gameplay elements, and Odyssey kind of showed us its own teeth, or like, Odyssey showed us its teeth, and they tend to be a little bit larger. But are they as sharp as previous iterations of the series? You see what I did there? So, Odyssey takes place around 431 BC. We find ourselves caught right in the middle of the Peloponnesian War between the Spartans and the Athenians. Now, the shift in the Assassin's Creed paradigm is that there are two characters this time you can choose to play as. The Spartans Alexios and Cassandra, who happen to be a brother and sister combo. Now, at first, we were thrilled to learn that there were going to be two different stories with two different characters. However, this was not necessarily the case and was a bit of a disappointment to us. Why? Because no matter what character you chose, you get the same exact story. And the characters on top of that share the same dialogue, just in a different tonality. That was like a major almost like Charlie horse, if you will. I was like, really? I have two stories I can play. I was like, so it gives me a chance to kind of go back and play the game again from a different perspective. Not necessarily the case. The story in Odyssey is actually better than all the other Assassin's Creed games. You know, some may think with, Assassin's Creed 2, or some may think, Assassin's Creed Origins. To me, it consisted of probably one of the better stories in the franchise. It just had this feel of it's not just a country at war with each other, and you are just kind of like one of the characters set to try to right the ship. However, this is like more of a personal story of triumph and defeat. And some even wonder if there's any kind of reference to the Animus from previous games within this one, because it seemed like in the past couple of years they've been trying to get away from the Animus. But it is there, just not in a really, really big way. It's more of like a gloss over, if you will. It's like a reference. They make a reference to it, and then boom, it's kind of like forgotten. To me, if the developers just tossed the idea of the Animus out the window and just focused on the game for what it is, it would feel a lot more well-rounded and not just like a shameless plug. The voiceover work is actually fantastic, and the fact that they open up the dialogue to include decision-making is leading the series to be more of what we wanted, more of like RPG elements. And the fact that you can now change the course of the story by making some simple decisions, well, some of them are not going to be so simple. Some of them are going to be kind of like game-changing decisions. Makes it even that much more intriguing. The world of Odyssey it's large. The map that you play in, the open world aspect, the game is huge. You're going to spend at least 60 to 70 plus hours exploring everything that this world has to offer. And the game kind of, in a way, forces you to go and explore. It kind of forces you off the beaten path of the main story and says, you have to go, you got to do this, and then you got to do that. I mean, you're looking at different continents, and then you've got a vast sea in between it. So there's going to be a lot of on-land exploration as well as vast sea adventures. So there's actually plenty to do. However, the game does suffer from what a lot of open world games suffer from. A rinse and repeat of the side quests and challenges. After a number of hours exploring the side objectives, they tend to become repetitive. And the missions tend to repeat themselves and repeat themselves and repeat themselves. Spider-Man, to me, suffered from this too. This will lead some gamers to be a bit more off-put and spend only a few hours a night working on them instead of the main objective. This is going to be kind of one of those games that you're going to spend a few hours on a night and then put it down. You know, it just kind of depends. If that's your play style, that's what's going to end up happening, I bet. Now look, Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a pretty solid game. I'm not knocking it. Like, I'm not saying this game is terrible. It's actually a pretty solid game. But to me, it just suffers from its own ambition. It kind of overreached a little bit. Now look, the world is grand. And I cannot say enough about it. The world is grand and it's rich. The characters and set pieces are epic. However, a lot of these side missions, which you don't even, some of them you don't even have a choice. The game kind of pushes you that way. Tend to get really, really repetitive, and you kind of like, oh, this again. You had that attitude. Trust me, I've done it. I sat there. I'm like, oh, I gotta do this again. And there's no variations in the story, no matter what character you choose. That was a Charlie horse. That was almost a little kick in the gut. You know, I thought when I first saw this announcement, I was like, oh, I've got two stories I can play. I can get two different perspectives of the same story. Because it's two different characters, you can have two different avenues. That's not the case. The world is so large that they really couldn't split the story up into two aspects. It's the same story, same dialogue, just the character model is different. The combat is simple and fun to pull off, much more like the Assassin's Creed Origins, which I thought the combat was great. But the game is a grind. It will pull you away from the main story just to grind your character up in level to accomplish some tasks, and that is where the repetition starts to evolve and will become more evident to most players. It is a great game, like I said. It's just a little bit of an overreach. So for that, we gave Assassin's Creed Odyssey a solid 7.5 out of 10. We thought it was a great game, a little slightly above average. It was a good game, not an average. It was just, like I said, just slightly above average. So that's why we gave it the score we did. We will continue to play Assassin's Creed a little bit longer, but the repetitiveness is starting to get us a little bit fatigued. That's going to do it for this episode of Under Review. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, game on.